Chapter 53 Farm 8. Jiang Ran reminded, the body in Greenhouse 3 hasn't disappeared yet, which means there are no evolved earthworms there. Why do you think the worms from Greenhouse 4 haven't come over? Guoyu continued, each greenhouse is isolated, and the soil in the cultivation area is likely a separately constructed pit. Upon hearing this, everyone's footsteps came to a halt. Just then, a loud bang suddenly echoed, causing their hearts to race. Before they could steady themselves, another series of intense bangs resounded. The impact was unusually clear, making everyone's shoulders tremble. Subconsciously, they swallowed and looked in the direction of the sound, where Greenhouse 10 was shrouded in mist. The surroundings grew deathly quiet. At this moment, even the sound of a falling pin would have been clearly audible. Bang! 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 The loud collision sounds repeated, each impact resembling a drumbeat pounding in their hearts. Fu Wenbo was so scared that he kept stepping back, and Zhong Changde instinctively turned to run. The others were equally fearful and shaken. Jiang Ran also felt a bit anxious, but quickly calmed herself down. The defense of the greenhouses was robust, things within the mist shouldn't be able to escape. Summoning her courage, she walked to the aisle leading to Greenhouse 10. Peering through the thick glass, she observed the situation on the other side. All she saw was a vast expanse of white, with nothing visible except the swirling mist. After a few more sounds, the greenhouse suddenly fell silent, as if the recent commotion had never happened. To hell with this, to hell with this farm, to hell with this mist. Let's go to Greenhouse 3. I don't believe the farm even has reinforced glass underground. After a brief pause, Xing Kui suddenly exploded in anger and marched towards Greenhouse 3, with Zhong Changde and Fu Wenbo quickly following suit. Among them, Xing Kui was the one most eager to leave. After hesitating for a moment, Su Jia sighed, "Sigh, let's find a way to leave. We can't stay here." Guoyu also spoke, "Let's go over and take a look. This situation is unsustainable. This mission is simply impossible to complete." As he said that, he turned to Jiang Ran, who was observing Greenhouse 8, and asked, "Jiang Ran, what about you? What's your opinion?" Jiang Ran turned to look at the group and then glanced up at the surveillance cameras above. "Let's split into two groups and take two paths." "All right." With a glance at the cameras, Guoyu received Jiang Ran's signal. He turned around, stepped back a few paces, and leaped up to disable the surveillance cameras above. Jing Wenbiao and Jiayu also disabled several other cameras. Rao Meng looked at the last camera and smiled, saying, "Either give us some heavy weaponry, or we find a way to escape on our own." After finishing speaking, the monitoring screen went dark. Cheng Tao furrowed his brow, but he wasn't overly panicked. The construction of the farm had considered various extreme situations. With these few people, there was no way they could escape. However, heavy weaponry, perhaps he could apply for it from above. After disabling the surveillance in Greenhouse 9, Guoyu's group returned to Greenhouse 3. Xing Kui's group had already dug up a pile of soil. Guoyu's group continued disabling the surveillance in Greenhouse 3 before joining the digging team. Jiang Ran was still observing the situation in Greenhouses 8 and 15. The current situation was quite complicated. If something within the mist wanted to leave the greenhouse, the commotion would only grow louder. She needed to find the fluorescent stone insect as quickly as possible. Taking such a risk and coming back empty-handed would be a loss. So far, Greenhouses 3, 4, and 9 had been searched. The densely mist-covered areas were Greenhouses 5, 10, 11, 12, and 17, which were extremely dangerous and off-limits. Greenhouses 6 and 18, separated by the cross-shaped arrangement, were also inaccessible. That left 8 greenhouses to explore. Jiang Ran needed to understand the situations in all 8 of them as quickly as possible. Based on the pictures, the fluorescent stone insect and the large meat-eating insect were together, so she needed to explore the area with the large meat-eating insects. Disabling the surveillance cameras along the pathways to greenhouses 8 and 15, Jiang Ran turned away from greenhouse 10 and sent a wind blade towards the bottom of the glass door, leaving a shallow cut. Running her finger over the cut, Jiang Ran had a sense of her own strength. A full-force wind blade attack or a fireball should be able to blast open this glass wall. What remained was finding the fluorescent stone insect as quickly as possible and then leaving. Jiang Ran set her sights on greenhouse 8. It provided access to greenhouses 2, 7, and 14. Moreover, she could continue exploring greenhouses 1 and 13, with greenhouse 14 being a resource point as well. It held a stronger position compared to greenhouse 15. As she was investigating, there was movement again in the mist behind her. Jiang Ran couldn't help feeling nervous. Were they getting agitated this quickly? Glancing at the surveillance cameras in greenhouse 8, Jiang Ran attempted to create a few wind blades to disable the cameras through the glass. However, with a layer of glass between her and the cameras, her control and sensory abilities over her elemental power were significantly diminished. She only managed to disable 2 nearby cameras. At this moment, Guo Yu's group returned dispiritedly. Rao Meng said, "The cultivation area is a 3-meter-deep concrete pit. We can't dig it. We'll have to think of something else." Seeing Jiang Ran looking at greenhouse 8, Guo Yu asked, "Do you still want to complete the mission? Isn't the risk too great?" Jiang Ran didn't deny it, murmuring while gazing at greenhouse 8, "I want to go across." Hearing this, the others furrowed their brows. The commotion in the mist was growing, and the mission was virtually impossible to complete. Their limited time should be focused on escaping. Xing Kui voiced his opposition. "We have nothing, just a few shoddy weapons. There's no way we can complete the mission. We should be finding a way to escape, not rushing in to die." Su Jiayu agreed with Xing Kui's viewpoint, despite their previous disputes. It was indeed the most reasonable thing to do at the moment. "I agree with Xing Kui." Xing Kui looked at Su Jiayu in surprise. He hadn't expected the first person to support him to be Su Jiayu, who he had clashed with. Soon after, Zhong Changde and Fu Wenbo also voiced their support for Xing Kui. Guo Yu remained silent, weighing the pros and cons. Rao Meng looked at Jiang Ran, unable to understand her determination. Jing Wenbiao hesitated, unsure which side to take. Jiang Ran made her decision, "You all go back to greenhouse 3. I'll go to greenhouse 8. Alone." Jing Wenbiao disagreed with Jiang Ran venturing alone into greenhouse 8. With so many of them being cautious, Jiang Ran going alone would seem reckless and suicidal. "Yes." Jiang Ran nodded confidently. The number of insects in greenhouse 8 was similar to greenhouse 2. She could handle it on her own. The others hesitated. Jiang Ran was actively heading towards danger, and they didn't care much about it. However, Jiang Ran was quite strong, and no one wanted to stand out and risk her resentment. As the saying goes, leave a way out, and we'll meet again in the future. Who knows, they might need her help later. At this moment, Xing Kui made the final decision. "Then it's settled. We find a way to escape, and you go to greenhouse 8 to complete the mission." Following that, the group returned to greenhouse 3, and Guo Yu closed the passage between greenhouses 3 and 9 as he passed by. Watching the slowly closing door, Rao Meng furrowed his brow, but he didn't say much. Since they had chosen to split up, Jiang Ran was no longer part of their team.